Welcome back to Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and once again I'm joined by Lawrence Conley and Paul Sheridan to go over that first half. 2-0 up. Lawrence, what's your overall thoughts on the performance?
Magic Tom, 2 assists for the second game in a row. Ryan's, what a shot for Ryan, eh? And the second one, ball across by Tom's cracking. Overall, team performance has been great. No one's let us down, everybody's shown up. A carry on from Thursday night, you can see we're operating as a unit again.
Yes.
So long may it continue. Let's hope that it doesn't go the same way as Thursday night. We lose 2 goals, but let's hope we carry on and maybe get another 1 or 2 in the second half.
I think, Paul, looking at the performance, if you wanted to compare it to Thursday night, we actually look far more comfortable, don't we? I don't foresee any issues in the second half.
No, I think the players look very confident and they're playing the wee touches, the link-ups are much better. No, I hope that they take this into the second half, particularly the manner in which we finished, the manner in which we started the game. This is very, very important in terms of instilling confidence in the players. And it's 45 to go, so let's hope that it continues.
Now, Paul, you will be giving us a few tunes at the end of this game. We'll all be in a good mood if it continues the way it has done in the first half. And Kakashi, the boys are back in town. I'll have that. Thin Lizzy.
Yep.
Into that, Lawrence. You know what that song was about?
No, I don't, but you're going to tell me.
Yes, it was about the original Quality Street Gang, i.e. the Manchester gangsters of the 1960s.
I've seen that documentary. I didn't know that, but there was a Celtic video in the 2000s.
Philomena's mother ran a pub in Manchester, and they all used to drink in there, and Phil Lynott wrote the song. So there you go.
But there was a Celtic video. The boys are back in town, was there not?
There was, back in the
Cup final, beat Dundee United 3-0. Burley with an offside goal to make it 3.
The boys are back in town. What do we take from that? Does that mean that the positivity that we had after the game against Lille is coming into today's game? And there's a turning point. People might say you overreact after a loss, but I don't think the performances were there right up to and including the Aberdeen game. Lille, very, very promising. Today, absolutely delighted with that first half.
I think we got a performance against Milan. I really do think we, after the Glasgow defeat, we got a performance against Milan. Chasing 2-2 against cracking Serie A team. I think that was better than we'd played all season at points.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Pittodrie and drawing 3 each, losing a last minute goal. It's not brilliant to lose a last minute goal and 2 penalties against us, but Pittodrie is a hard place to go. So I would say there has been a turning point. I'd take it. Performances have been better since Milan, and let's hope it continues in that kind of upward trajectory.
Let's have a wee chat about Tommy Rogic. I know you mentioned him there, Lawrence, in the first half. Jock Sporin points out the impact Rogic has had on the team since coming back can't be understated. He has assisted in our last 4 goals. PJD, you've been proven right. I wanted to read that out because that's me getting proven right for a change, right? But I think when we were looking at Tommy Rogic, he was almost out the door, £4 million away. There wasn't too many people, gnashing at the teeth that Tommy Rogic was leaving, simply because he hadn't played much since, Neil Lennon had come back. We're seeing the Tommy Rogic of old here, Lawrence.
He'd had his injuries, hadn't played. As you say, nobody was up in arms. Well, 4 million, what's been contributing, but we'd been shouting for him and Griff at the start of the season to get more game time. He's 28. He should be hitting his prime as a player. I think we all know there's doubts. Does he have 90 minutes in him or not? But if it's 2 assists a game he keeps giving us, do we care if he's got 90 minutes?
Can't argue, can you? Talking in 90 minutes, I think the settled personnel is helping. Hopefully it can continue. That's in from Jock Sporin. At this stage, 2-0 up, Paul, would you be looking to make any changes?
No, I think the Celtic just now carry that momentum into the second half. As time goes on, players will tire, so there will be changes made. The bench looks pretty strong, and I think that if we're looking to make changes, I think it will be within the midfield to keep that momentum going, and maybe Edouard doesn't play the 90 minutes. But just now, currently, I wouldn't make any changes at this moment because the team have started well and they've finished the first half well. And let's say I wouldn't be doing anything differently at half time. If I was Neil Lennon, I'd be saying, well played, lads, this is how we can play, this is the way we know we can play, let's keep it going for the next 45.
There's a lot of love coming in for Tom Rogic. Understandably, he's been excellent in the first half. And Michael the Boy on Twitter states that Tom Rogic has been immense. I'm not going to argue with that. James Downey, Rogic has been fantastic. Looks like a different player. He likes Hampden, doesn't he? In the rain against Aberdeen.
Big pitches suit us as a team and suit Rogic as a player, doesn't it? He's just got those Velcro feet. The ball just seems to stick to it. He's great vision and awareness. They put the short passing into players. They can just see where to lay the ball, where not. And that cross for the second, that's outstanding, isn't it?
Absolutely. Now, Darren G points out that the only slight negative is Duffy's slack passing. Now, Duffy's come in for a lot of criticism over the last few weeks, Paul. He looked all right in the first half there, I think. I mean, yes, I get with regards to Darren's point on his passing, but I just think, let your Rogics, let your Laxalts and Frimpongs, let all these guys do all the running and the passing. Just do what you're good at, win the ball. And the big headers, there was a couple of good passes as well, described as Stubbs-esque 60-yard passes, but I would just, rely on the guys around you for all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, do a simple thing, pass it to the guys who they are able to take it forward, and that Paul de Laxalt at the start, when we were talking about Stubbs, when he came in his first season was very unsure, very nervy, very lacked confidence. It wasn't until he had a Celtic partnership. Duffy's still not had a Celtic partnership with him just yet at the back. I think he's still finding his feet and finding the pressure of playing for Celtic. However, I think that he needs to do the simple thing, get the ball out to the next player, win the tackles, don't do anything silly, and win the big headers. And I think that confidence will grow.
I think it's an excellent point. You think back to the start that Stubbsy made, famously sent off on his debut, and Duffy hasn't had the luxury, has he, really, of a settled, not only a partnership, but a goalie behind him. How do you think Scott Bain's done in the first half?
No fault with Bain. We know what Bain gives us. He's a reliable keeper of a standard. Is he ever going to be what we'd want as number one? Which I suppose it's out to him to go out and prove it that he can be number one at the club. I don't think anyone would be unhappy if he was your backup keeper. Let's see if he can kind of go on and prove that he can make the number one jersey his own. One thing I didn't miss out in the first half, what was the booking for Diego for? I thought it was really soft.
Just interesting enough, Lawrence, I know you can't see the screen, but on that very note, there's been a few comments made about the refereeing decisions, and the DJ of choice mentions via YouTube, must be nice to be Lewis Ferguson and be able to wrestle people and win the free kicks, almost like no one is allowed to protect themselves. What's the standard of refereeing been like in the first half, in your opinion, Lawrence?
Scottish. It's what we're used to, isn't it? Well, for us as a team, we're refereed to a different standard. I think we'll accept it.
Now, a couple of months ago, we were talking about two players, Tom Rogic and Lee Griffiths, who were so far out the picture. Rogic was almost out the door. We didn't really know when Lee Griffiths would come back. We've now got them back, Lawrence. Rogic's starting. Joe Boy 18 via Twitter states that a fit Big Tam is what we needed. Well, some people can reinvigorate a team, if the performances are requiring that. And it looks as though he is certainly one of the players. I think like Salt's played a big part in that as well. But Tom Rogic, a guy who was already at our disposal and we weren't utilising, he could be a big player for us this season.
Definitely. Well done, Lenny, bringing him back in. It's, I think everybody knows he's got goals in him, he's got assists in him, he's got that bit of magic, he can hold and shield the ball. We know he's a class player. It's can he do it over 90 minutes is the only question anyone's ever had about Rogic, and can he do it over a sustained period of games? I think
it's one of the things that we've learned to live with Tommy Rogic, isn't it? That you might only get 60 or 70 minutes, but if he's got 2 assists in that time, you can live with that. It's like the Paddy McCourt thing, where here's this iconic 70s throwback, but if you bring him on for 20 minutes near the end, he might score a mazy or set something up, and you just learn to live with that, don't you?
Aye, definitely. I mean, imagine bringing on Griff with 20 minutes. If it stays like this and we're giving Aberdeen the runaround, Griff would fancy 20 minutes here, wouldn't he?
Oh, definitely. Sean via YouTube, thanks for tuning in, Sean. You can see how Aberdeen miss Hayes massively. Frimpong and Christie having so much joy on the right-hand side. You mentioned, Lawrence, actually, during that first half, how good a partnership that pair seem to be, and Christie really does support Frimpong, doesn't he?
Aye, he covers up for him. The amount of work Christie puts in it, he runs non-stop for Celtic, doesn't he? He just seems to be, it must be Duracell and Weetabix, that boy said. I don't know.
3 Weetabix. One thing I have noticed in the first half, which has annoyed us no end, is the fact that Premier seems to be buffering. Is anyone else getting the same issues with their feed? I would be interested to see that, because it might be a Premier issue or it could be our issue. It'd be nice to know if anybody else has got the same issue. Jungle Lion's asking where my poppy is, but I decided not to wear one today, but thanks for asking. Now, Paul, let's have a look at the second half. How do you feel we'll approach that? Same personnel and just a wee bit, as is, if you like?
I think certainly to start off the second half, it's picking up from the where we left off in the first and taking us through maybe 60 minutes, maybe see how things are tiring or how we're getting on. If we haven't conceded, if we're looking for a third, then changes will be made about that time. But it's good to see Celtic, it's good to see us going through, having come through the first half, dominating, playing well, and looking like the Celtic of old.
Oh, definitely. Now, that might, the seeds of that might have been planted, as Lawrence says, when we were chasing a 2-2 against Milan. And then obviously we've seen some signs of it against Aberdeen. Unfortunately, we couldn't hold on to that lead. But Lille, for me, was almost a benchmark game. And he's tinkered with that. And I think he had to tinker with that. Obviously, Ayer being the obvious one. But he's brought in Tommy Rogic. And it's turned out to be a masterstroke, really, when you look at that first half. Now, Jungle Lion joins us to say Lee Griffiths is the best goal scorer at the club. I wouldn't disagree with that. Edouard has put in a good shift. I would expect at some point for Eddie to be rested and Griffiths to come on, Lawrence.
Aye, definitely. It's good to see Eddie back playing football. He's had a couple of chances. First 10 minutes, he's unlucky, double save for Lewis. But yeah, I think that's a change we're all expecting. Griff to come on for Eddie at some point. Let's hope Eddie's got a goal by the time he comes off. Builds his confidence, gets some minutes in the legs. It's looking good going forward then, isn't it?
And one final thought to leave you on before we go back to the second half. Sean McCrory, after a horrible toxic week last week, this week we have our Celtic back. Is that more like the Celtic you would expect to see under Neil Lennon?
Yeah, definitely. But I remember Simon Donnelly saying something when they played Liverpool and they drew at Celtic Park. That's when that team kind of looked at each other and go, right boys, we're a good team. We need to kind of get on with it this season. And maybe that's what Celtic felt. Although Milan beat us, maybe they're kind of going, actually, boys, we're a good team. We need you up again. We can get on with this. If we can carry this on to any other games, it kickstarts our season. So let's hope, this is the beginning of the old Celtic back, playing like we know we can play, keeping the ball and scoring goals for fun.
What was your prediction before the game? Was it 3-1, Lawrence?
I went for 2-1.
2-1? I mean, are you going to change that at half-time?
I'm wishing I'd went 3-0. But so, I like to stick by my prediction. So I'll just leave it there. Because we had a heavy game against Lille. We may have tired legs in our team. But I don't see us losing. I think we'll go on and win and keep another treble on track.
Quadruple treble. Paul, what was your prediction before the game?
I said 2-1 because I felt as though we still had the capability to concede a goal. I would like to think that we could keep a clean sheet because that would do a huge amount for our confidence. And it's lovely to see Big Edward back and linking really well with our players. I think it's important that we can also maintain the team without MD going down injured or going off injured, because having personnel missing has been a huge impact on our season so far. I'm going to stick with 2-1 because I said at the start I don't want to renege on it, but I'd like a 2-0.
Oh, excellent. Now, going on some of the points you've made, when you look, if you're the opposition's manager, you look at Edouard, Christie, Rogic and El Yunusi, the creativity amongst those players is frightening. Any one of them could craft a chance or score a goal. And then down both wings, you've got Frimpong and Diego Laxalt. That's a frightening proposition for any team. And then, you've got the actual solidity of Kalmak, Bruni, Duffy and Beaton. So I think, we're actually getting a good mix there. But you also look at the bench if we need to make any changes in the second half. That's great. I think I said 1-0 Lawrence in the first half. I'm going to change that to 3.
Okay.
If I may be so bold. All right.
Well, you're
so
not going to stick by it.
3-0 in the second. I'm not going to stick by that, am I? And we're being told by Francis that he'sgoal.com is spot on and it's free. We've paid for Premier Sport and it's buffering. So if anybody else has bothered to pay for that and they're getting the same issue, let us know. And we will be looking at the second half, hopefully, with the same kind of performance in the second half. We'll join you at full time for another half an hour of analysis. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for Lawrence and Paul, who's going to be playing a few songs at the end of the game as well. Paul, can't wait for that. And we'll see you all at full time.